most joints, or pretty much everything in Maya, is going to use what's called the XYZ Rotation Order. Let me open it. There. Now, if you select any object, open it with Attribute Editor, you'll see Rotate Order. So my Rotate Order right now is XYZ, and the way we read this is backwards. What I want to do is rotate in Gimbal to show you how this works. So, if I rotate in Z, my X and my Y follow. So Y and then X. Now if I rotate in Y, only my X follows. And it's just like a hierarchy of like any other grouping that you would do. Think of these as groups, as X being your lowest child, Y being the next child, and then Z being the parent. Now the one thing you'll see a lot too is if I rotate in another option with Maya, and I go here to rotate, you'll notice that I start to get, okay, there we go, I'll get values in all my axes at the same time over here in the channel box. And what's basically happening is it's compensating to try and figure out the best way to rotate in that order. If I look at my gimbal rotations, you can see I don't actually have that rotation. So Maya approximates it by rotating, rotating, rotating to try and get it. So we don't want to deal with that, and we want these two to match up. So what I can do is change my rotation order. If we look over here, I've changed the way my hierarchy works. Y and Z are still the same, but X is actually coming from the joint above, all the way up the joint chain. So this one, then this one, then this one are rotating our joint, and then this one. So what I want to do is switch the rotate order on both of these joints. So I'll select this joint first, and I want to just put the X first, which is backwards. So it's Y, Z, X. Remember, read it backwards. And I'll do the same thing here. Y, Z, X. Alright, so now if I rotate in Gimbal again, I move Z, moves on its own. I move Y, moves on its own. There we go, sorry. Y follows Z. Nobody follows Y, and everybody follows X. So now what I'm going to get is my rotations are going to rotate, and they're going to match from one joint to the other. And that's all part of my rotation order. It's just like the hierarchy of, you know, the moon follows the earth follows the sun. Standard XYZ rotations. X is the moon, Y is the earth, Z is the sun. So we're just going to change that order a little bit and put X at the end, which puts it first. So our moon just became our sun. Hope that's not too confusing, but if you understand hierarchies, it shouldn't be. Great. Now the last thing I would do is just make sure that these guys are in the exact same position. I only move them so we can see them. So I'm just going to point snap it. Oh, come on. There we go. Great. So this is my bind joint underneath, and this is my control joint up above. So when I want to move this into a rig and attach it to a clavicle joint, what I'm going to do is grab both of these guys at the same time, group them, and I like to put their pivots in the same spot. So I'm going to put the pivot at the end here. I'm going to name this Arm LF Rig. You can name it anything you want, really doesn't matter. And that's what you're going to parent or point constraint or whatever you want to do to your clavicle. And I'm going to go ahead and just hide my bind joints because I don't need them. And then this is the arm rig that I'm going to put the IK handles on or anything like that. So why don't we try that? Alright, I'm going to move this over, set the preferred angle. And then this isn't necessarily a typical rotation order. I just built a joint chain really fast. I'm going to grab an IK handle. That's RP by default. And everything seems to be working the way we want it to. Let's do that again. I'm going to move it over here. Grab that. And we get a nice sort of arm control going on there. Just to test it in IK and see if it's working. Alright, I hope that makes sense, and watch for the 2009 tutorials because I've got a lot of those coming. I just can't show them yet.